Well, good morning. This might be the last day of session. I say might because I've learned you can't count on anything around here. We were supposed to be closing up the final bets to the conference committee that was dealing with the entire state's budget. We had been working on it for 2 weeks. Literally every night I was home, 12:30, 1:30. We're just about done, and we learned the governor didn't have many of his priorities and wanted us to reopen it. You can imagine we were all taken aback. It was a little disconcerting. We had come to a global agreement, and so there was some scurrying, to say the least. 2 hours later, we were back at the table. We had actually accommodated much of the governor's new suggestions. We did not accommodate all of them because coming up with a final negotiated product is pretty complicated. To pass any bill, you need 50%, but on the final day, you have to pass the bonding bill, which requires 60%, or 3/5. So in order to get to that, you have to have an agreement with House and Senate Republican and Democrat leaders. Can you imagine trying to get all 4 of them to sign off on something? They had actually done that, and some of the governor's requests would have undone that deal. So at the end of the day, without boring you with all the details, I'll just tell you we did as much as we could, but that's why things could still get a little dicey. You might see the governor trying to line item veto or hopefully not veto a big bill, but you can say you were forewarned. That's what happened, hearing it right here. I can't tell you what's in the final budget bill because we haven't yet voted on it. And again, it's so complicated that I'd rather just do that next week with the final summary, and I'll list it all out. We did just pass the bonding bill. I can tell you that I was so pleased and proud the significant investments we made in higher education, particularly the infrastructure needs, which we call HEAPR. We funded the university's priorities in their order to the extent we could, as well as MNSCUs. I made a strong stand for beginning to fund the science building in the city of Duluth at the UMD campus, because I mentioned this several times, but after having traveled the state, I really was struck by what a jewel UMD could become if we in fact invested in it strategically so that we could attract the best and brightest students, the best and brightest faculty. And it is a place where the science industry and the science community could really flourish. So that's why I am pleased to say that. And then finally, in the bonding bill, we were able to pass and go ahead and support the St. David's Center expansion. St. David's Center is really a jewel in our midst. It's 2 blocks from my house, but more importantly, it is serving the needs of our youngest children, both mainstream youngest children, but they have a particular niche with small children with disabilities. And so they have employed best practices, and they will now be able to take their best practices and become teachers around the state for dealing with children with autism, children with mental health needs. And so it was a proud moment to vote yes on that. So again, next week will be the final chapter, reading the newspaper whether or not the governor is willing to support our initiatives, but let's hopefully call this day a wrap. Thanks very much for engaging with us all session long. Let us know what you think about how we did in the final survey.